Hey again everyone, and welcome to a different kind of diecast video on this channel. So today I'm going to be showcasing some Tootsie Toys I restored for Charlie over in Oregon. Now these were cars he sent me last year which he wanted restored as a Father's Day gift for his dad. I had originally planned to do a video on the restoration of these cars, but due to lack of time I just decided to do a showcase video instead. Even then, this video almost didn't happen since it's about a year late, but considering I still have the footage, I decided it was worth showing these off. Now, the first one I'll show is this Plymouth, and as to what Plymouth it is, I'm not sure, so someone can tell me down in the comments. Now, you'll probably notice that the paint looks a little rough, especially around the edges, and that's because when I restored these cars, I did not make any alterations to the castings. All I did was remove the old paint and didn't sand or file down any imperfections in the diecast. Now, my reason for this is because I wanted to keep the cars as factory original as possible, and you have to understand that back in these days when Tootsie Toys were a thing, the quality of diecast cars then wasn't like what we have today. They're not like the high-end diecast models, and a bit knocked back when it comes to the fine details. So this is the next car, which is a Ford ranch wagon, and this is pretty much the same process as the Plymouth. It was stripped of its paint, primered, and repainted. Now, I did all this with rattle cans, and you can see this car actually has door handles, which you couldn't see under the original paint. And going around to the back, you can also see the word Ford cast into this model. It's a little hard to see, but the car also has number plates on both front and rear. Like I said, these cars have very little detail, and even just the thin coat of paint that I put on these has drowned out some of the details on them. You can see there's an error in the paint here, which was an issue in the casting, and another one of these can be seen on the driver's side door. Unfortunately, in some cases, they're all over these cars. Now, something I wanted to mention also is that when I painted these, I never took the wheels off. I just masked them off and painted the cars from the top. I think this is how the cars were originally painted because the insides of them only had bare metal with some overspray, and you can see the same thing here. This Volkswagen Beetle is what I'm actually classifying as a custom because this car was originally painted in some sort of metallic copper brown, but because I didn't have matching paint to the original, I went with this metallic root beer brown instead. This is a one-coat lacquer made by testers, and I really liked using this particular paint, especially on my own customs. Again, this was painted from the top like the others, so there's only a little bit of overspray inside. Now, something I did ask Charlie about was if he wanted me to paint in some of the details on these cars, like the lights, door handles, and so on, but he said not to, which I agree with because although it would make these look nicer, it's not the way these cars came from factory. But like I said before, I really do like this metallic root beer brown on this car, even if it's not the original copper color. So here's the last car, and I have no idea what this is, so if anyone knows, feel free to leave a comment. This car actually wasn't going to be restored because originally I was only doing the first three cars, but Charlie came across this while I was working on the others and asked if I could restore this one as well, so I told him just to go ahead and send it over and I'd get to work restoring it. Now, just like the Volkswagen Beetle, this car is somewhat of a custom because again, I didn't have the correct paint for this, and sadly, I don't have a photo of what the car looked like originally, but it was kind of a lime green and chipped up just like the others. Because I didn't have the correct paint, I used another tester's lacquer paint, and this color was called Lime Ice. You can see it's another metallic paint, and I think this makes the car look a lot more appealing than it was originally. I remember I actually had one of these cars come in a bundle of vintage Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars I got from Eddie, and I actually sent that one over to Marty in Australia. Something else I had to do with this car was remove rust from the axles because they were really bad when I started on this project, and the easiest way I found to remove the rust was to soak the entire car in vinegar overnight, and that pretty much did the job. Now, there is still a little bit of rust present, but it's really not that noticeable. Another thing is that this car actually had some paint on the bottom unlike the others, and if you look just under the rear axle, you can see the original color. Again, I think this metallic paint really makes this car much more eye-catching than it was before, And just like the others, there's not a lot of details other than a small area for the driver, some vents, and headlights. But again, the small details are not that well defined, and even a thin coat of paint drowns them out. So here's one more look at these restored slash customized Tootsie Toy cars, and I have to admit that I really did enjoy working on this project, really impressed with how these turned out, and it's nice to just take a break from the more elaborate diecast projects that I do and just focus on something simple like this. And I know some of you are probably thinking these aren't as impressive as some of the higher end diecast I've featured on this channel, but you've got to understand the time period which these cars come from and just learn to appreciate the simplicity of them, because these are a classic line of diecast now. But as I said before, these were commissioned by Charlie over in Oregon as a Father's Day gift for his dad, and when I sent these back to him, I also included a display case to go with these cars, and his dad was very pleased with how they looked. But before I end the video, I want to thank Charlie for commissioning this project. As I said before, I really did enjoy working on these, and I'm really impressed with how they turned out. But that's going to be all for now. Feel free to let me know your thoughts on these cars in the comments down below, and I'll get back to showing some more modern diecast replicas on this channel next time. I'll catch you guys later.